I know usually the couch is designed for sitting on it, but I'm just sitting in front of it. Looks kind of cool. Hello guys, greetings from Hefei in Anhui, mainland China. I'm very proud to announce that I'm the first one here on YouTube to say that a 6 months tourist visa for mainland China can actually be obtained. I have it. It's in here in my passport. When I was gathering information about the different visa options, I wish there would be somebody who would just tell me exactly what to do. Now I'll be having this role, and I got you. I want to show you exactly how to apply for the visa, what documents you need, and I also want to make clear that you don't need an agency to get it done for you. First, let me show you my visa. I have an L visa, which falls under the category of a tourist visa, and I got granted 180 days, so from my issue date to the expiry date, it's half a year. However, with a maximum stay, or how it says here, with a duration of stay of 90 days, which means after 3 months I have to leave the country and re-enter to activate the second half of 3 months. As far as I know, you can also just go to Hong Kong, it's a day trip, and then come back. But for me, it doesn't matter anyway, because I was planning to go to Thailand for a couple of days and then just come back to China. When I just heard about that there is a 3 months tourist visa for mainland China, I found this type of visa most attractive. Usually, most people of my age, they go on a student visa, on an X2 visa, which allows you to stay for half a year, but it's a single entry visa, or the X2 student visa, which is meant for long-term study, longer than half a year, but with multiple entries. I first wanted to go on a tourist visa to see if I like it, and I do like it. Very much actually. I'm very sure that I'll extend my stay here in mainland China. If possible, I'll go on a tourist visa again. I don't see the point of visiting uni. I learn Chinese much faster by self-studying. A tourist visa also grants me more freedom. I don't need to attend any classes. I can just travel around and simultaneously just improve my spoken Chinese with my language partners. This way, it's more effective than this very dull school system over here. But that's another topic. If you're interested in language learning related topics, then check out my YouTube channel. Anyway, now let's talk about the application process. First, you go on the website called Chinese Visa Application Service Center. Yes, Chinese Visa Application Service Center. This website is very easy to handle. As you can see, it's very concise and minimized to the most essential stuff. This is going to be interesting for you. Here you can check out the visa categories, visa types. As I just mentioned, I'm on an L tourist visa. Then if you scroll down, you have the X1 and X2 student visa, and then you have all kinds of business visa and working visa, blah, blah. I'll keep that open because we'll need it. Visa fees, to be honest, I find this a bit complicated to understand. And before I applied for my visa, I also couldn't figure out how much I have to pay. I only found out on the day when I actually had to pay, and I'll talk about it later. But this is a bit of a weird system. Anyway, what is going to be important is this here, the application form, and the downloads. In the download section, we can find the invitation letter. Very important term, we'll talk about it later. Anyway, before anything, you have to go to the top right corner and create an account. I'll just sign in with my account real quick. Okay, now you have to change the location to your nearest city. So I don't know why I selected this. And I also have to say, because I was living in Australia for the past 2 years, I picked Australia even though I'm originally from Germany. So I have a German passport. So just pick the nearest city that you're living in, because you actually have to visit the service center and submit the application in person. There is no e-visa in China yet. There are, but it's very limited in terms of options, and you can just here go to the questions section and look for this question which was asked before. Can I apply for a visa online? It is not possible to apply for a visa through the internet currently. So that's the official statement, the official website. So what do you want to say? If you see any offers on the web saying that you can just apply for the visa online, that's rubbish. You have to do it in person. Yes, if I would have been in my home country in Germany, I would just select Germany and then your city. But because I applied from another country than the country of my original residency, there are also some special rules that may apply, but I'll talk about it in the application process. And what I also found weird and worth mentioning is that I cannot find the US in this list. And I have no idea why. Probably citizens of the US have to I can't imagine that they have to go to Canada and apply from Toronto or something. There must be other rules. Probably they have to apply from at the Chinese embassy in the US. So for the rest of the world who have the luck not to be US citizens, you just follow this process here. Okay, now this website here is pretty much self-explanatory. If you check out the visa category section, then you pick the L, the tourist visa, if this is what you're interested in, and then view material list. So it's like a checklist, a to-do list. And we'll just go through it together and I'll explain each and every point. Okay, passport is clear, it has to be valid for more than 6 months. Don't need to talk about it. Now, this little bad boy here is the most important point. Visa application form, what that is, I'll show you in a second, and a photo. So the visa application form is, I think, 6 pages, and this is what you have to fill out, sign, and bring to the embassy or the application center in person, along with some other documents. So, of course, the passport always, and the visa application form. With a recently taken photo, it actually has to be this size. I had to specify that when I got the photos of my ugly face. And yeah, the photo must be in color, blah, blah, blah. But now let me show you the visa application form. Here is a sample, so how this looks like in the end. As I said, 6 pages or something. Here you see in red whatever has to be filled out, and the photo will be here. I can just show you my visa application form, and the form that you just saw in front of you don't have to print it out and fill it out with a pen, but instead you just fill out some blanks and then they generate the complete application form and you can just print it out and then sign it with a pen. Okay, as you can see, there is my cracked junky face and it's in color. This is what's important. You have to print it out in color, and then you don't need to carry an extra photo with you when you submit the visa, because the photo on here is enough. At least this is what I got told. However, don't worry about this, you don't really need it, because when you fill out the blanks, the details, it will be all clear and it will be filled out automatically. Okay, now let's follow our to-do list. This is how the photo has to be taken in color, in front of a white background, blah blah. You have to complete an online application form. This application form doesn't need that you apply for a visa. It just means that you fill out the form which you want to submit in person. Print it out and sign it. Okay. Please remember to bring the completed form and other necessary documents to the visa center to submit your application. Alright, now the third point is proof of legal stay or residency. Proof of legal stay or residence status. Okay, now the third point is proof of legal stay or residence status only for those applicants using non-Australian passports. So that was me in my case, because I'm originally German but lived in Australia. I had to bring some sort of a visa that I'm just legally in Australia right now. But if you apply from your home country, don't need that. Okay, photocopy of previous Chinese passports or previous Chinese visas. This was my first time applying for a Chinese visa, so I can also skip that point. Children of Chinese descent doesn't apply to me. Okay, now let's get to the most important, most discussed from what I've read on the internet, and most feared point, which is that you have to bring along documents showing the whole itinerary, including an air ticket and the hotel reservations. So even before you have the visa, you have to book a flight already, which is kind of weird, isn't it? But it says, or an invitation letter. So you have 2 options. You book all your stuff in advance, which can be risky, or you get an invitation letter and you don't need to prove that you have an air ticket or that you have booked hotels. And this is what I encourage everybody to do. It's so much less headache. An invitation letter for tourists issued by a relevant unit or an individual in China. What does that mean? Okay, by a relevant unit, probably a company or something, or an individual in China just means by a Chinese person. Could be a Chinese friend or family. If you've got family in China, then you're lucky because they just write an invitation letter for you and that's done. And this is how I've done it. I have a few friends in China before I ever got to China, because I met them online and they were my language exchange partners. And one of them wrote an invitation letter for me, and this is what I submitted. However, very important, it says that you need the inviter's Chinese ID, a copy, a photocopy of both sides, and this is what I also brought to the application center. Of course, you might think, but I don't know anyone in China. Wait, the invitation letter should contain information of the applicant, so he should actually mention me in his letter, some details about me, also details about the trip, where I'm going to be, how long I'm planning to stay, and then it also has to contain information about him, his name, his phone number, his address. Okay, what kind of letter is it? Is it really something like, hello, I am blah blah blah, I'm inviting Thomas to come to China to stay here in this city, blah blah blah? Yes, it can be pretty much like this. Officially, there is a form that you can fill out in the download section, sample of invitation letter for China visa. So this is the official form, and here it's given what you have to fill out. So you see personal details of the inviting party, so the Chinese person, and your personal details. And also says date of departure, date of arrival, how long you're planning to stay, blah blah blah. I filled this out together with my friend. He filled out his part, sent it over to me as a PDF. I filled out my part, and then I also let him write a handwritten letter, which was a bit more casual. I can even show it here. And I thought it's a bit dodgy because it's like handwritten, doesn't look it looks a bit sus. But in fact, at the visa application center, they didn't even take this form. I actually still have it here. They didn't bother reading it, they just wanted the personal handwritten invitation letter. Still, it was just my situation, doesn't mean it's like that everywhere. The official website still suggests that this is the official invitation letter, so I would just do both. I also know from another person that they actually let him rewrite the invitation letter, or it was an American, he applied for a visa, they told the American, the Chinese friend of yours has made a mistake or didn't mention enough details, let her rewrite the letter and then come back and reapply. So make sure that all the details it asks for here, full name, gender, date of birth, details about the trip, phone number, Chinese ID, blah blah blah, that this is all included. Okay, now it says the invitation letter can be printed. Consular officers may request an applicant to provide the original of the invitation letter. Invitation letters from Chinese individuals should present the photocopy of the ID. Okay, additional supporting documents or conduct an interview. Whether a visa is to be issued or not, as well as the period of its validity, number of entries and duration of stay will be decided by consular officers according to the applicant's actual situation. Yeah, this is also something I wish I would have known earlier. It's not like you have a range of visas that you can select, like I want to stay 3 months, I want to stay 2 months and 14 days. You just put in the desired stay of length and they decide what they can do. But we'll get to this point. Before we get to this point and actually fill out the application form together, let me tell you that if you don't know anyone in China, you have 2 options. First of all, you pick the first option, documents showing your whole itinerary. Itinerary? Is that the right pronunciation?
Itinerary.
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 Why do I say itinerary?
Itinerary.
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 From what I've known in Australia, they usually say itinerary. Itinerary.
Itinerary.
Itinerary. Anyway, the first option you have is to do exactly that. You provide all of the book tickets, the flight and the hotel reservations. Or secondly, you just find a Chinese friend, and I'm serious, and there will be somebody to help you out. Just go on the language exchange app called HelloTalk. This is how I met all of my Chinese friends who I've known for partly over a year before I actually came to China. It works like this: you want to learn Chinese, they want to learn your native language. Maybe you're not interested in Chinese, but you can find somebody. Just text different people, find out if they're up to hanging out, and ask them if they can write an invitation letter. Of course, it's a bit dodgy if you only know somebody for 2 days and you let them write an invitation letter and you ask for their ID and that kind of stuff. So plan your trip early enough and maybe take some time to build up friendships on HelloTalk and then ask one of them if they're actually down meeting in real life. It sounds a bit weird, but I would seriously consider this option. What else do you want to do? If you want to risk it and buy a flight where you don't even know if you will get the visa or not, it's kind of weird as well. Okay, now let's go back, bearing all that information in mind, and just go to the start of the website again. Now, the most important part is here, the application form. And as I said, it's not the e-visa or anything, that doesn't exist. It's just to answer some questions, and it generates this personalized application form which you have to submit in person. First, blah blah blah. Here you have to upload a photo. Do I still have my photo? I don't remember. Yeah, actually I still have my photo. Yeah, so if you go get a passport photo, make sure that they also send a digital version to you. Okay, now I'll just fill out anything to be quick. So I'm just going to skip through it because I just want to go to the next point, but you of course you take your time and read everything carefully and can just do it alone. I don't have to explain everything in detail. My annual income, I'm poor as, let's just say I earn like 6 figures. Boy, this was an annoying part, your work experience in the past 5 years. To be honest, I wouldn't give them any detail because who cares? I just give like the last job. The nation my spouse is from, I can't find it because she lives in another nation. Imagination. Okay, now this section here is rather important because this determines what type of visa you'll get ultimately. So, here you select what kind of visa you want. Work visa, business visa, family visit visa, tourist visa, L visa, as an independent tourist, I hope. And then this section is very, very weird. Now this point is very unnecessary because it asks you for the expected time that you want to travel to China, let's say within a month, which means within the next 4 weeks I want to enter China. But it's irrelevant because the China is valid from the day that it's being granted. So I really don't understand this point. Then what I selected here, that it allows multiple entries and an expected stay for, I put in 180 days per entry. So this way I indicate this is the time that I'd like to stay. However, when I applied for the visa, they immediately asked how long do you want to stay? Is it single, double, or multiple entry? And then they also told me that because I'm applying from a country which is not my home country, they cannot grant me a visa with a multiple entry option. So all they could give me is a double entry option, which means that these 6 months are separated in the middle. I have to leave once and then I can re-enter. If I leave if I leave China twice, then my visa loses its validity. This is a problem. But I think it's best to have a multiple entry visa if you are traveling Asia in general and maybe know somebody in other countries. If you don't have a problem staying 6 months in a row, then just select single entry. But if you're like me and you are sometimes traveling to other countries, for example, I'm going back to Germany next year for a week because of a wedding, or in 3 months I want to go to Thailand to visit somebody I know, or next year I also want to go to Russia. In February next year I'll be going to Pakistan for a week again. So for me it's important to travel out and travel in again. So I've been thinking of what option is best for me. They will see that this is your intended time and then they will allocate the right visa time to you. Now here you can select how fast you want your visa to be processed. Because I was a bit in a rush, I picked Express and it was done in 2 days. So after 2 days I got my visa. Here you give details about your itinerary, the day of arrival. I literally just put in 4 days. No, yes, I put in 4 days after my application, even though on the official website it says you should apply at least a month before entering China. I was a bit in a rush, so the date on which I submitted the application, 4 days forward, this was my intended time of arrival. And I just literally put in that time and it was all good. Date of departure. This is where I put in this date, which is counted 180 days. And from the day I was intending to arrive 6 months later would be the 20th March of 2025. So this is your intended day of departure. And this way they actually see how much you want to stay in total. This here, which I spoke about earlier, it tells you expected stay for 180 days per entry. So I have only 90 days per entry, which means after 90 days, after 3 months, I have to leave and re-enter. But the total length, the total validity of the visa stretches out to 6 months. Okay, now comes a part about the inviting person from China, so your friend or maybe family member. And if it's not applicable, this is when you have to provide booked tickets. But here I would just put in all the name from my Chinese friend, which I also have on the official form, which I still have here, and which he also wrote on his written version. So they asked for his information 3 times. And then in the end, you just give some other information, review, you check all the details. And then in the end, the last step is you just submit it, which does not mean that you applied for your visa. It just means that this form is ready for you to be printed. And then you can print it, sign it personally at the spots where you have to sign it, and then you go to the visa application center and submit it. And as far as I know, you don't even need to schedule an appointment. You can just walk in anytime and it will be processed very quickly. As I said, when I entered, I was just there for like 10 minutes and it was all done very quickly. 2 days later, I came back to collect my visa. Maybe it's only in Australia that it's so easygoing and laid back. I don't know how it goes in other countries. Now let me tell you how much I paid for my visa. I'm also curious. I don't know anymore. Oh, found it. In total, I paid 164 Australian dollars, which is 110 American dollars. But it should not have been that much. It was just because I selected the express option because I was a bit in a hurry. And the express option cost me express fee 30. So yeah, roughly 130 Australian dollars, which is 86 American dollars. Yeah, this is how easy it is. I had to pay right after I applied, which was a bit weird because the visa was not even granted, but it was granted, thank God. Okay, now let me summarize once again which documents I brought in my folder when I went to the visa application center. First of all, my passport. Secondly, the application form printed out in color, so the photo view has to be in color and it has to be signed. Thirdly, the invitation letter, the official form from their website with all the filled out details of my inviting friend and of me. Another invitation letter handwritten by him, he just sent it to me as a PDF and I printed this out. His ID, so the front and back side of his Chinese ID, and then my Australian work and holiday visa. And that was it. I had all of these on me, just submitted it, done. I think this kind of visa is a very good option for travelers who want to take a couple of weeks or even a couple of months to travel around and explore the country, or for people like me who want to bring their Chinese up to fluency. One last point, if you are intending to rent your own apartment in China, it's very, very important that 24 hours after you sign your contract or 24 hours after you move into your apartment, that you actually go to the local police and register your address. Otherwise, you'll have a big problem. But if you're intending to stay in hotels only, even for the period of 6 months, then never mind, because the people at the hotel do it automatically for you. But foreigners always have to register their address here in China. I'll just make another video on it about renting an apartment. Alright, that's it. I hope it helps and I'll catch you next time. Bye bye, auf Wiedersehen, Wale, до свидания, 再见.